Hi, I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be doing the pumpkin and jack-o'-lantern necklaces, and these little wonderful necklaces are made out of pumpkin ice cube trays, and they make a perfect little mold for a flat necklace. At first I thought I wanted to make them two-sided and roll around, but they work so much better when they're flat. And I actually prefer just the pumpkin over the jack-o'-lantern, but you may like different kinds, so that's totally up to you. So the first thing we're going to do is get our vegetable spray, and we're going to spray our little pumpkin here. And the ice cube trays I picked up at the Dollar Tree, but you also can find them at Walmart. Excuse me, I think this one I did find at Walmart, and they were at the dollar store, so they all were about the same price, so they are available at different places, so just look for those. And think about other seasons and things that are out as ice cube trays. You could do those as well. So we're going to be working with QuikWood today. Now these are deeper, so it's going to take a little bit more. And the first thing we do when we're working with QuikWood is to remove our rings. And because it dries rock hard in 20 minutes, so that includes your jewelry. And QuikWood is a product that we also carry at Miriam Joy, so it is available on our website. So just to know where you can get that. And it is epoxy and it's 2 parts, and I do have some videos out there that can help you with that. So I'm just going to kind of get an idea how much QuikWood I need here. And it smells like tuna fish, and when you're working with it you always have to remove this plastic, and to activate it you need it, and it's marbleized in the beginning because it's got the 2 parts, and once it starts to become one color and it kind of gets warm to the touch, then you've activated it. But if you do not need it, it will not dry hard. I've had people that say it never hardened on me, and that's because you didn't need it well enough. And like I said, I do have some videos out there that would help you with that, with the QuikWood. So if you have questions, we go into those a little bit more detailed. So use a little bit more here on my hands. But make sure you remove that plastic. That's one of the biggest things that people do when they don't realize they do it. I'm going to stick this in here to see if I need a little bit more. I didn't actually stick it in the vegetable one. I need just a tad bit more. Fantastic. Yeah, we've got it coming up over the edges, so that's good. The first thing we're going to kind of do is we're going to kind of stick it down, and we're going to push it really, really well along the bottoms. And what we're doing is getting the air bubbles out, because if you don't get the air bubbles out, you have these little dents in there. So you want to try and push those out as much as possible, and then bring it on the inside, because you don't want to push it on the outside so you don't get little lines. This guy's being real squishy. And I'm going to grab a credit card or a hotel key and scrape the top of it. I like these. These are really hard, and traveling as much as I do, I have a lot of these. And these are really nice because I can take these and I can take them along the top and cut off the clay. And see, you want that nice and flat. Now the only thing that we've got to get a little bit nicer here is the little stem. The stem is a real important piece on this part. So we're going to push a little bit. And this back part kind of wants to keep jumping out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a screw eye, and that's the smallest one I could find at the hardware store. I believe it was 5/16, but I may be wrong on that. And we're going to put that right on top of our stem, but you want the loop where it is showing, and you can get your jump ring or cording or whatever you're going to use through that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put another piece of QuikWood on top of that to keep that all in nice and smooth. And you want quite a bit. You don't want it just to break off or anything, so you want enough QuikWood that that's completely covered. We've got that guy. You don't want the sides to come out at all, because when the sides come out you get this little different part of it there. And I'm going to add one more piece on this back just to kind of flatten it back out a little bit. And on the vegetable spray, to keep it from wiggling around as much as it has on me today, I would probably maybe even spray it in my fingers and then just go like that, and that would be enough. I don't know if you've noticed how much it's kind of wiggled on us today. We don't want this above. I'm going to try one more time just to see if I need to take any of that off. We don't want it past the ice cube tray. So there, I feel really good about where it is right now. So we've got that nice and shaped. So we're going to let this dry. It's 20 minutes for rock hard, so I'm going to give it 30 minutes. Its workable time is 20 minutes. It's rock hard in an hour, so you could even give it an hour or two. That's fine, but it should be hard enough that you could start doing the next thing in a little bit. So let's let that dry. Alright, now that our QuikWood has dried and we popped him out, I'm going to take a little sand paper and I'm just going to smooth these edges, these rough little edges off. Just so he's nice and smooth. And if you tried to keep it in a little bit better, you're going to have less work to do than if you did more on the outside. And we're not going to worry about the top too much because we've got leaves going on that. So now that we've got him done, I'm going to base coat him with our dark shade color. And I'm going to use tomato spice. And you want a dark red, not a bright red, because bright red is harder to base coat. It takes a few layers, and this is a lot thicker. And it also gives it a nice rich base. We're going to put 3 layers of paint over the top of this. And also go ahead and do your back. And you can make your stem, I'm going to do the stem in brown. You could either do the stem in the back, the same color as the back. It doesn't matter if you want to do him brown, you could do him brown. That's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my stem brown, and we're going to let that dry. Okay, now that we've got our red dried, I'm going to apply my pumpkin color, which is my primary color, with a craft sponge. And I've already dampened it, and I'm just going to pounce it in the pumpkin paint. And we're going to just pounce that right onto our pumpkin. And you do want to leave some of that red coming through a little bit so that you do see that underneath color. And I'm going to try and get in up at the top here. I'm probably going to use a brush to get in a little bit. Don't forget, we're going to put our leaves up here as well. Okay, and we're going to let that dry, and we're going to put one more layer on it. Alright, now that our pumpkin color is dry, we're going to come in and put highlights on. And I'm using an apricot color, which is between a yellow and a pumpkin kind of color. You could also use a buttered yellow, and I'm using a stipple brush. And we're going to go just right down the middle of the pumpkin parts that are sticking out, the curvature parts, the tallest parts. And we're just going to highlight those to give it more, it makes it more rounded. It really helps with the 3D look of it. And see, by putting all those colors on, how wonderful that's already started to look. So we're going to let that dry, and we're going to put our leaves on next. Alright, now that our last coat of paint has dried, we're going to work on our leaves, and we're going to do them out of QuikWood. Remember, I told you the hardest part of QuikWood was to do a small amount. We've got to get equal parts of the white. And we're going to knead it again, and I took my jewelry off. And on this part, it does not take much. I've got a little piece of plastic in there. Be really careful, especially on your smaller pieces. Alright, now that our last coat of paint has dried, we're going to work on our leaves, and we're going to do them out of QuikWood. Remember, I told you the hardest part of QuikWood was to do a small amount. We've got to get equal parts of the white. And we're going to knead it again, and I took my jewelry off. And on this part, it does not take much. I've got a little piece of plastic in there. Be really careful, especially on your smaller piece. I'm going to put some vegetable oil back on my fingers again. We don't want too much vegetable oil. You want to try and do it light because you want to make sure that it sticks. And I'm going to roll a piece of this off. And I'm going to try to get a leaf shape here with my finger. Kind of do an egg shape and then push it down. And then pull it with my finger to make a point. And then we're going to stick that right on our pumpkin. And I'm going to use a clay tool to get my veins in there. Alright, so we've got one of our little leaves on. So we're going to do our next little leaf. And don't try to make it too hard. I think people freak out with clay because they try too hard. Just do it. Don't be scared of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the really nice thing about all of this, if you don't like how it turns out, take it off and do it again. But don't worry about being too perfect. Okay, lay that back on there. I'm gonna put our veins back in with our clay tool. Now, one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to shade under this a little bit. I'm using embossing powders now. And if you've ever watched my QuikWood videos, you know I use a lot of embossing powders. And I'm kind of shading under the leaves, just a little bit to give it a little bit of a shadow. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of a curly Q on this one. I'm not going to turn this one into a jack-o'-lantern. Like I said, I think the ones better that aren't the jack-o'-lanterns are just the pumpkins. I'm having a hard time getting them rung out kind of evenly. And remember, there is no right or wrong on these. And I'm going to leave it just like that. Like that. So on my little vine, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to use the brown on him. Okay, and then we're going to make sure you get the sides too. We want to make sure you get the sides. And we're going to come in, we're going to color our leaves. When you're working with embossing powder, always go from the powder to the lid. Never go straight out. There's way too much embossing powder on your brush. And you could just paint this in with acrylic paints. That's fine. I just find it so much easier to do it this way because your QuikWood is wet, and I love the look of embossing powders. And when I'm working with QuikWood a lot, you'll see me using the embossing powders quite a bit. So we've got that on our leaves. Get this green color off here. And I'm going to put some gold highlights onto our leaves, and I'm going to also put it onto our pumpkin as well. So I'm going to do it right down the middle to give it a shine. That's going to highlight that real well. You also could put a little bit on your curlicue if you wanted to. So our pumpkin is basically done. So what we're going to do here is we're going to let our QuikWood finish up drying, and then you're going to varnish it really, really well. And then you're going to go ahead and put your jump ring on, and all you're doing is putting your jump ring on from your eye screw to your necklace. And I like a chunkier necklace. I think it looks better than just a cording or anything like that, but you could use whatever you like or you have. And also another thing I think that would really be pretty would be the ribbons. The ribbon necklaces as well. So think about using those as well for your necklace. And I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. I think it really makes it look really rich. And I think by making the necklace look more expensive, it makes the pumpkin more of an exquisite piece. So thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions about this project, or if you'd like to let me know that you're watching them, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Thank you and God bless.